recovering today. If you do, let me know in the comments. We're now live over here on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You know how fascinating it is for me to be able to stream on multiple different platforms at once. What a world that we live in. It's going to be a really good conversation. Marielle, what's going on? So I was thinking about, well, I should say during this morning when I was thinking about what I was going to share with you guys. Obviously, I'm a bodybuilding coach, right? I talk a lot about building your physique, building your body, right? But I think a lot of the times what I've seen from years of doing this is, well, why are we doing that? This could be a great question to start it off for you guys is, why are you trying to improve your body? Why do you go to the gym every day? Why is that something you're trying to do? I think even just getting curious about that is important. Why? Because I think a lot of the times when we're working towards goals, we sometimes lose sight on the vision as to why we're doing these things in the first place. And psychologically, our adherence to whatever it is, whatever goal that we're striving for, is going to be the driving factor, correct? So if you think about this and we step back objectively and we say, hey, if adherence is the driving factor to getting results in our lives, regardless of whatever avenue it is, then why wouldn't we try to really dial that in, right? So it's like, okay, if I don't understand why I'm doing the things, then how could I possibly execute on that consistently for months and years at a time? And this is the sad reality that we live in here, Avery. A lot of us want very quick results. We live in the TikTok doom scroll era, right? I think the average attention span now of the human is the same as a goldfish, which is pretty sad, but this is the world that we're now living in. Technology is a blessing, but also a curse, because now we've been conditioned to get everything like this, right? We can go all day. Instacart, Uber Eats, Amazon, you name it, right? Like, listen, I get it. I use that stuff too. But what I'm saying is, you listen to me closely here right now. And I sense the Holy Spirit with me. This is cool, man. If you're a believer, man, tap in with me. This is going to be a good conversation here today. I have been a coach for the last 5 years. I have spent over $200,000 post college graduation. So I got my bachelor's degree, graduated from the University at Albany in upstate New York back in 2019, right? So post graduation, spending that kind of money on mentorship, you might be listening to that and you're like, dude, that's fucking crazy. Why would you ever do that? Well, I don't know if we have time to go into the whole story, but I'll give you just a small tidbit, okay? I had gotten to such a low place post graduating that I thought about taking my own life, right? Hear me out really quick. So during that time, what helped save me was getting my fitness dialed in, was getting my body right, my mind right. Like, that's the first step in the equation. So like, if you're listening to this right now and like you're not there yet, we have a lot of work to do. Now that could be really overwhelming for you, or it could be exciting, because there's two ways to view this, right? If you don't have the results that you want in your life right now, you could be discouraged, you could be overwhelmed, you could be frustrated and shut down and go back to doing what you've always done. But logically, is it fair to say you'd probably get the same results if that's the case? That's debilitating, and that's where most people live. That's where most people live, is in that void, in that rut of doing the same things over and over again, and then being frustrated and saying, well, why don't I have these incredible results? Why isn't God knocking on the door and giving me all these blessings here today? Why is he not granting me with the finances and the life that I want? Because it doesn't work that way. I titled this the one simple skill set that will make you, that will make you jacked, rich. It'll give you more freedom. Do you guys want to know what that one skill set is? Comment below. I want to hear from you guys a little bit. What is the number one skill set that you guys need to be jacked, to be rich, to have freedom? Do you guys know what it is? Take a guess. Take a stab at it. I'll wait for you guys. We got some people viewing over here on TikTok. Kelly, why don't you tell me? Why don't you take a guess what you think it is? Instagram, what do you guys think? We need to stop making this single mistake if you're serious about changing your life. Now, you don't have to listen to me, but what I'm saying is, for me to experience all of those things over the last few years, I have made so many mistakes. I have worked with so many people. I have gone to the events. I've hired the coaches, the mentors, the therapists, the retreats, like all the fucking things, the therapy sessions. I've spent all the money. I've done all the things. I'm not saying I have every answer, but I've done a lot of work on myself. I've read the books, the podcasts, the walks, the healing, the meditation, fucking all of it. And do you want to know where that's led me to this point right now? Is recognizing this, that nobody else can save you, can do the work for you. Ultimately, your results are going to be determined from how you view yourself, the relationship that you have internally. And the problem is, a lot of us just don't think that we're actually worthy or capable of doing the things that we really desire. So what happens is we self-sabotage. Let me know if this is landing for any of you guys. We start to self-sabotage and we start to reinforce our limiting beliefs to say, you know what? You're probably right. I'm not a morning person. I can't stick to this routine. I can't stick to this diet. So I'm just going to go back over here in this little comfort zone, this little bubble, and then I'm going to sit in that, and I'm going to complain and make excuses and tell stories and just preach to everybody else about all the shit that I'm going to do to try and get recognition and validation, even though I'm not willing to get outside my comfort zone and do the things that actually are going to help me get to that next level, right? And that's the problem with a lot of us and why we don't see any change. And this is a huge thing that I do with clients all the time, is just having high levels of communication. Even just having some support and some accountability goes a long way, because a lot of us want to do all these things, but just having that second pair of eyes to say, hey, instead of doing this, why don't we do that? Right? Like sometimes just hearing shit you don't want to hear is just a really good thing. And that's for myself why I constantly invest in coaching and mentorship. And I have my own coaches because I need that kick in the ass. A really good one who's actually not a coach of mine is my partner. My girlfriend, Chelsea, kicks me in the ass all the time, to a fault, but also to a place where I'm really thankful for. And that's what we need, right? And that's why I value community. And that's why I'm talking to you guys. I don't get paid for any of this. I do this just out of the kindness of my heart to help educate, to help communicate to you guys a little bit. And maybe you could just hear that one thing at that one time that you need it. And that'll help you take a different action to lead to a different result. And I truly believe that's why we're here. And that's our purpose. And that's our mission, man. And that's what it's all about, right? Yeah. Hey, what's up, big dog? It's hard to admit when we're wrong, things we don't want to hear. Yes. So I want to give you guys 3 actionable takeaways, right? So I've spent the last 5 years in the coaching space. I have spent over $200,000. I've worked with all the people, and this is single-handedly what I've seen work the best for myself, some of my best clients. Because here's the reality, and I'm being transparent with you, and I don't really share this often. All the money in the world, all the muscle that you could imagine, all the things that you want for yourself, placing external validation on that to make you feel a certain way is exactly why you're in this perpetual state of not feeling like you're good enough. Because for me, and I think that's why a lot of people get sucked into the vortex that is bodybuilding, because you could just take more drugs, more food, and constantly go through all these phases and just not feel good because you're always searching for that next thing, right? So then how do we actually create a better relationship with ourselves? And that stems from the work that I'm about to share with you here in a second, okay? Because that's what I thought. I thought, okay, when I get to 30K months consistently in my business, I'm going to be good. And then I hit that, and then I'm like, oh, I actually don't feel any different. If anything, it made me feel worse. And now I see how highly successful people who are really rich and famous actually could go down the deep end and kill themselves. I see that because when you accomplish the things that you want for yourself and it doesn't give you the feeling that you're searching for, it sends you down the spiral of like, well, what else is there? You don't see the hope anymore. And I could understand how people get to that place because I experienced that myself. I thought the success of my business was going to make me feel a certain way, and it didn't. Same thing with the muscle. I thought the abs, the chest, the delts was going to make me feel a certain way, and it didn't. So it took me getting to that to say, this isn't what I want. So my vision and my purpose for you is for you to come on here and hear that, and maybe you do something a little bit differently. That's why I coach. Because if we're constantly seeking the validation of something or someone else to be okay, you'll never have it because you'll always be chasing it. So how do we make that shift? How do we make that paradigm shift? And this is what it is. It's getting more comfortable with ourselves. It's creating a stronger sense of self. And that is a very detailed, intricate process that we probably don't have time to get into here today. but I'm going to give you a couple things to work on it. Couple things. Okay. And I want you to write these down. So we're going to cover 3 things specifically on how to improve your relationship with yourself, which is really the number one skill set that you need to make some tremendous waves in your life. And again, when I think back to why I'm having this conversation is because, dude, a lot of us don't even have the time, money, or the resources to invest in these coaches. And I have done that over and over again. And this is what I'm saying after going through countless programs and spending all kinds of money, what I've taken from this. So like, it just blows my mind how some of us are just not open to that. And that's what I'm going to unpack here. Okay. So the number one thing that a lot of us need more of is faith. Now, regardless of how you interpret that, that's your choice. I'm not here to force any type of ideology or any type of religion. Whatever you want to believe faith is, cool, do that. But you have to have some form of a belief that you're not done yet, that there is a bigger purpose for you, that the best has yet to come. Because if you don't believe that and you're constantly in this like negative energy of always feeling like the world is against you, do you really think logically that you're going to be able to attract the things that you want for yourself? Probably not. I mean, when we just think about that, right? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense if you're just going to walk down with your shoulders shrugged like this, your head down, and you're just walling around all the time, self-pity. Like, who wants to be around that, right? The negative Nelly. That's just not a good time, man. You know those people, they're energy drainers. You're just like, get away from me, right? Even right now, you probably, I would hope, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, let me know. I would hope that you feel my energy right now. Because if you didn't, you're probably just going to click out. So that's not what we want. So the number one thing, and I want you to write this down, that you need to make sure that you are improving your life every single day. I mean, listen, if you don't want to improve your life and you just want to be the same, go ahead, keep doing your thing here. But I want to take the guess and say that a lot of you, if you're still listening to this, you probably want more out of your life. I mean, I don't know. I'm sitting here saying, this is my one life. This is the one opportunity that I have. I probably want to do something with that. I don't want to just roll over and make excuses and blame everybody else as to why I don't have the things that I want. I mean, I think that's a pretty boring, lame life. Would you agree? Okay. So if you do agree with me on that, then how do we develop this relationship with ourselves so we're not constantly seeking external validation only to perpetuate the cycle of not feeling like enough? Building the relationship with self, having faith, man. Having faith. Like, I don't have all the answers. And for a long time, I wasn't okay with that. And I'll tell you why I wasn't okay with that. Because I didn't really feel secure in myself. I thought that doing more, having more, being more, right? Getting more competitions under my belt, more recognitions, getting a pro card, getting my business a certain way, getting my relationship to a certain place. I thought all of those things were going to bring me this external satisfaction. I think I just had an aneurysm. Satisfaction, right? And that's where a lot of us fall short. Would you guys agree? Is this landing for you guys in the comments? Let me know. And that's what I really want to give to you here today is like, you don't need to hit that rock bottom. You don't have to get to that low place to say, I'm willing to change. You could just be proactive right now and say, you know what? I want to do this for myself right now. So it doesn't get to that place. And there's so much inside of this conversation, man. There really is, and we could talk a lot about some bigger things here. I think, getting clear on a vision and a why. We touched on that at the beginning here as to, what this is really going to be able to do for you. But second piece I want you guys to write down. Amen, brother. Second piece I want you guys to write down is having support. I'll say that one more time. Having support. So let me get a little sip of coffee here, okay? This is making sense so far, TikTok? You guys are awfully quiet in the comments. I'm a bodybuilding coach who's preaching a little bit, even though I'm not a preacher. But I don't know. At the end of the day, man, the reason I share these things, the reason I'm passionate about it is because I think you could have an incredible physique, but it doesn't stop there. The gym, for me, even being a competitive bodybuilder and coaching athletes, and that's my career, my business, it's still such a small piece of my life. And I think if you're following somebody who like that's their only thing, I would say, maybe reconsider that. At least, I can't speak for them, but this is me. I believe that the gym and the training and all of that is a small window. Because think about it. You can only be in the gym for so long. Even if you're training 4 or 5 days a week for an hour or so clip, I even think that's a little much. It's still only like 5-6 hours out of the week. So it's like, it's really, you got 24 hours in a day times 7. I mean, do the math. It's not a lot of time, right? So what I'm saying is there's so much more to us as human beings than just our physique and our training and our bodies. And that's why what I believe, and that's my approach as an actual bodybuilding coach, is saying, hey, you're a lot more than your physique. So I don't want us to rely on these things to feel good. So the second point in order to combat that is having support. You're not meant to be alone. And a lot of this is a really good one. I want you guys to just really open up your ears here for a second and maybe write this down if you're taking notes. I mean, you should be writing this down, but like really listen to this for a second. Isolation leads to illness. And I even know this for myself, right? Because I just finished up 8 months of contest prep. I did 2 shows. I just got off the national stage about a month ago. And I had my regional show a month prior to that where I won my class. Super cool, really thankful. But I worked my ass for that. Worked my ass off for that shit. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make, bodybuilding sometimes, especially during prep, could be really lonely, could be really isolating. And what I saw for myself experiencing that was the isolation just leads to a lot of negative thoughts. Because what happens as human beings, we have so many thoughts on a daily basis. And a lot of those, truthfully, are negative. Would you guys agree? A lot of times you wake up, boom, I'm hit with anxiety, self-doubt, depression, just over and over again. I was trying to think of another one. I lost my train of thought there for a second, but I got it back. I got it back. Don't you worry. Okay. So that's the thing. When we spend too much time in isolation, I think it leads to further issues. And that's not what we want, right? I don't think that's a lot of fun. So it's this constant balance of making sure that you're prioritizing the work that you need to get done, right? And this is how I categorize my life, just so you guys maybe have a better understanding of this. 3 categories: health, wealth, relationships. In the morning, I hit the gym. In the afternoons, I work on my business. And then at night, I pour into my relationships every day. That's how pretty much I live my day-to-day life. Okay. So if you're thinking about this, I would suggest trying to, if you could, look at your life that way and pour into those buckets strategically. And that's the thing. Having support inside of that just allows you to be in a better state of mind, right? It just allows you to not feel like there's so much pressure all the time. And I felt that for so long. I just felt like there was so much pressure on me to look and perform a certain way, when in reality, I was creating that for myself. Why? Because I didn't feel good with me. Do you guys get the common trend that I'm trying to bestow into you? That's a good word, man. So support, having more support, because we're not meant to be alone. So like I was saying, it's trying to have that balance of doing the work that you need to, but also not completely isolating yourself. For me, I like being alone a little bit more than the average person. I'm naturally somebody who's pretty introverted. I think that's the word, right? Extroverted is somebody who's like really social, and introverted is more quiet. I'm naturally a little bit of both, which is pretty conflicting and confusing. We're not going to touch on that today, but that's the point, is just having a little bit more balance with that. And I think that's a self-awareness thing, which comes from just really practicing over time. And I believe that everything in life is just really skill sets, and you can improve that if you want to. But the problem is a lot of us are just really fixed-minded, or closed-minded, I should say. And that leads me to the last point, number 3, when it comes to building a stronger relationship with yourself so you could actually get the life and the results that you want, is going to be vulnerability. Now, this might be really challenging, especially for my men out there, is vulnerability, because we don't like to talk about these things, right? It's not really like cool and macho for men to talk about their feelings, is it? Would you guys agree? I used to feel that way, and our ego gets heavily involved, right? We think we know it all. We're walking around with our chest puffed out, acting like we have all the answers, but it's like, come on, bro, who are you fooling? Right? Doesn't make any sense. Okay. And I did that for a long time, and that's why I didn't get much results for a long time, because that's how I was approaching everything. I got it. No worry. Right. And doing that puts you in the habit of missing out on opportunities that are right in front of you. It's like if I have these glasses on, I'll picture this. This is actually a really good analogy, and I wasn't planning on doing this, so this is really cool. Picture these glasses are your ego. Like picture they're covering your actual eyes for a second, right? And if I have these glasses on all the time, I literally can't see opportunities that are in front of me. But if I was to take them off, I'd be able to see things a little bit differently, a little bit clearer. So it's the same thing for us and the way that we approach our lives. A lot of us are seeing things with these glasses that are essentially a broken lens of how we view the world, because that's been our previous conditioning based on how we were raised, from things that we saw, things we experienced, things we formulated early in childhood. And again, it's probably a different conversation for another day. Man, I could make like 7 podcasts out of this one fucking clip, right? But those are the 3 key things, especially for my men. The ego is going to keep us in this shielded rut of thinking that we have the answers, when in reality, it's like, I'll be honest, like I feel like I don't know fucking anything, but I'm also really confident in the things that I do and the experience that I do have. So it's like, can you have a little bit of both? Can you have the awareness to say, hey, I'm really confident, I'm really convicted in what I do, but on the flip side, I'm also always a student, and I'm okay with that. Because I've talked about this to my clients all the time too. You got to just keep the student mentality on at all times. You know, like forever being a student is the way that you're going to continue to evolve. Because the minute you stop learning, the minute you stop progressing and asking questions and being curious, you're getting left behind. Because people that are really succeeding at a high level, that's what they do. You know, and I'm obsessed with studying greatness, athletes, you know, entrepreneurs, business guys. They're just obsessed. You know, like I study Kobe Bryant. I study Bradley, Dan Martell, like these guys that have really operated at a high level. I'm just fascinated by the way that they communicate, the way that they live, the way that they operate, because I want to try and learn from that. And that's what I'm saying, that childlike curiosity, that a childlike just saying, hey, I want more. And you're seeking that constantly, eventually you will get it. Because I believe closed mouths don't get fed. That was a good one. That was a good one, right? Right or wrong? So to recap here today, 3 things that you could do literally today that cost you nothing. You know, that's what's so fascinating about all this, to wrap this up, is none of these actually cost you any money. Oh, the reality is there's overwhelmingly, overwhelmingly so much content now online. It's almost like become too challenging to sift through everything and find what is actually going to serve us and move the needle forward. Would you guys agree? So like for me, like that's the approach. I'm just trying to say like, hey, this is what I know. This is what I've seen. This is what I have experienced. Like, hey, I'm going to share it with you. If you want it, cool. If you don't, like, that's cool too. I'm going to continue to work on my craft. I'm going to continue to look to improve and make things better. But if this isn't something that's for you, that's okay. It's like, can you bring that type of energy to the things that you do on a daily basis? So I'm going to finish this here. Okay. Promise. 5 years, over the last 5 years, because I started my self-improvement, whatever you want to call it, journey back in like 2019. So it's actually been closer to 6 years, but I've been coaching for the last 5. After doing that, like I said, going to all the retreats, spending all the money, going to the events, all those things, right? This has just been really the biggest things, or I should say the biggest things that have helped me level up, is leaning into my faith, having support, and being vulnerable over and over again. When I know for myself, when I get disconnected from my faith, from the support that I have, and I'm not being vulnerable, that's where I start to run into issues. So I'm constantly trying to keep myself in that seat of being curious, being open, being vulnerable, asking for support, asking for feedback, and relying on my faith. I really do believe, truthfully, if you take nothing else from the conversation that we just had over the last 25 minutes, if you're able to practice these skill sets and make them a habit for yourself, I really do believe it will move mountains for you. Try it out. You never know. Try, and this is what one of my great mentors says to me, or says to our community all the time. Try it for 30 days. No strings attached. It's like, can you do this for the next few weeks? And that's another thing is a lot of us, oh my God, I just dropped my thing. A lot of us are searching for the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. Shiny object syndrome. And I'm guilty of this too. This is probably one of the biggest things I'm working on right now, is we're just so quick to just go, this didn't work. Let's go to the next thing. This really wasn't it. Let's go over here. And we're just constantly going back and forth, and we never actually stay on the path long enough to see if it works or not. So that's my invitation And my challenge for you here today is for the next 30 days, just commit to that. Commit to being more faithful, asking for more support, right? Being vulnerable, being curious. Just start to approach your day to day with that. And that's going to look different for everybody, and that's okay. But I hope this message finds you well. That's all I got for you guys here today. Thank you for spending some time with me here today. And if you have any questions on this, I'll leave it open for about 2 minutes. I do have a call I got to jump on at 2:30. This is a really good combo, man. It was good to chat with you guys. I don't know if you guys were here the whole time on IG. There was a couple of you guys that popped in and out. Was this valuable for you? If so, drop some fire down below. I don't know what it is. TikTok's just really quiet today. It's amazing how sometimes the chat box is so live and some days it's not. It's interesting, but what'd you guys take from it? Let me know. I'm going to pick up my AirPods. That's what I was holding. I like to hold things when I speak. Emily, were you here the whole time? Let me know. Jay Spenya. Jesse. Looks like you were here the whole time, man. What did you get from that? The last 10. Okay, Emily, what was your biggest takeaway? Very helpful. What was your biggest takeaway? What is your name? Oh, it is Jesse. Okay, I was just making sure. Jesse Pena. Jesse, what did you get from the live stream? Let me know. I'm not sure. Hold on. JS. I'm going to make sure that I follow you on Instagram. All right, I'm going to close out the Facebook Live here, and I'll just leave the Q&A.